We have discussed in the previous video regarding the legal structure, different entity types, and I hope that you have seen the 5 6 videos in between. Those were in English, like Hindi and English, and if you got some understanding about it, it is fine. If you have not seen these 5 6 videos in between, still it is okay. But what I'm going to discuss here with you is different types of fundings, okay, and all the basics about the fundraising part. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I believe that initially the business should be bootstrapped and the initial growth should be done either from your own funds or from the customer revenue. If you are planning to scale it further, for that only you should go for funding. Okay, but for your knowledge purpose, in some industries or in some cases, there is a requirement to raise a fund in the initial stage itself, because without developing the product you cannot get the customer. So if you are into such kind of a business, then this is really relevant for you. And if you are into a segment or a business where you can get initial customers and you can use that revenue for your growth, for you it is relevant at that stage when you have validated your idea and you are getting initial revenue, because getting funding becomes easier once you start generating revenue, है ना? Because investors also get some kind of a confidence in you. But it totally depends upon the founding team, your past experience, and the idea. If your idea is something which is unique and which investors see as a great value add, then even at the ideation stage you will get the funding. Okay, so there is no hard and fast rule. My principle says that just develop some basic thing, showcase it. Even if a prototype you can show to the investor, that will really help. But you can go for funding even on the idea. Generally, I will not recommend, but still, if you want, you can go for funding on the ideation stage itself. Okay, so the funding stages, I have just simplified it. There are much more than this, but I have just simplified, like bootstrapped, angel investing, and venture capital. So bootstrap, we discussed this earlier also. It is like funding the business using your personal savings, loans, or revenues from early customers. Okay, when you are using your own set of funds, it generally is termed as bootstrapped. And angel investing, when you are raising fund from the wealthy individuals who provide capital in exchange of equity. And seed funding comes in between bootstrapping and angel investing. Seed funding is generally given by some early stage investors, or maybe your family friends, or maybe government through Startup India seed funding scheme. So it will be somewhere between 1 and 2. And venture capital, like securing investment from a professional VC firm to scale the business. So if you get funding from angel investors, good for you. But if you grow further, if you grow their income, there are high chances that you will get a funding from. Now, when you are bootstrapped, okay, so generally what you have to do, because it is a self funding that you have done, okay, so you have to be totally dependent upon your credit cards, your savings, and you have to work to get maximum customer revenue as possible, because generating revenue from early stage customers to reinvest back into your company is your primary concern. So you have to focus on selling more and more product to your customers. Then comes the lean operation thing. So you have to minimize expenses and operating it efficiently. So what you have to do is like keeping a lean team, minimum number of members, and providing services to the maximum number of customers is generally your target, because you cannot increase your cost much, but at the same time you have to increase your revenue. You have to show some growth also, for because the purpose of starting business is what you have to earn profits ultimately. Okay, so you have to keep a lean operation. And then comes the angel investing stage. So I have already told you, angel investors are high net worth individuals who invest in early stage startups. And what they took off, they basically invest in your unique ideas. They see this founder is strong and they see a high potential of growth, and that is what is written in this point. And I told you this earlier also, that ideation stage may be funding generally people give if they see the founders are strong and ROI possibility is higher. Okay, that is what is mentioned here as well. Now comes the benefits. So access to the capital, mentorship, and industry connection. Definitely, if you get funding from angel investors, so you have access to the capital, you get mentorship from the angel investor network also, and you get industry connections, because these are generally high net worth individuals. Their network comes to know about your startup, and then there are high chances of getting additional funding as well as recognition in the ecosystem. Then comes the VC. So VC firms are basically professional investment firms. Okay, they generally manage large funds and they invest in high growth startup. as I mentioned earlier, they will invest as per their criteria, and generally they do invest in scalable business model. And if they see that the market opportunity is big, founders are experienced, then only they invest. And the fundraising process is quite extensive. They do your due diligence. If you remember, at the time of incorporation, you have to manage all your documents, agreements. I mentioned this point of due diligence in the that video. And the negotiation of the terms have to be done with them, and hands-on involvement post investment has to be done. Okay, generally they sign the term sheets etc with you, and based on the term sheet the final things evolve. Benefits to access, like you get the access to the substantial capital, you get the industry expertise, as well as you get the valuable network of the venture capitalists, because they have global connects. Okay, they are connected across the globe. And VC, getting funding from a VC is definitely a task in itself, but if you get it, definitely, provided you are doing good, your growth chances are really high if your startup idea is good and the execution is good. Okay, no one can stop you from scaling because you are backed by a good VC. It is a good thing for you. Okay, so different type of investors. Again, I am repeating: angel investor, venture capitalist. Now, this one I will discuss because other two we have already discussed. Crowdfunding is something when you raise funding from small investors and in large numbers. So there are certain crowdfunding websites across the globe. Generally, this concept is not that much prevalent in India, but in some countries, crowdfunding is really supported, and like small investors do their investment through the crowdfunding funding platforms on the idea of early stage founders. Maybe at some stage in India, crowdfunding also get some more traction. Okay, so this is something like crowdfunding platform kind of a arrangement, something which can be looked into by us as well. Okay, like if we can work on this and develop some great crowdfunding platform, so if you are interested, you can reach out to me, we can work on this together. Okay, so now comes the angel investors. I think we have already what solution you are providing and how it is unique. You have to tell the market opportunity, like the size and growth potential of your target market. So these basic things should be mentioned. Okay, and you have to present your pitch deck. See, I have just mentioned 3 points. So generally there are 10 things you have to ensure while creating a pitch deck, and those 10 things we will share with you. Okay, you can watch another video just after this which has all the details specifically for pitch deck. And not only that, we have like discussed how to create a pitch deck. We have practically, we will show you that how you have to create it. Okay, so don't worry about it. For now, just I'm giving you brief understanding, but detailing you will see in the next videos. Okay, so you have to be confident, okay, while demonstrating your pitch deck, and you should be passionate about your problem that you are solving. You know that you will be able to solve it this way. You are doing it better than your competitor. You should be very firm on all things that you are doing. Okay, tell it in a story or narrative format, and better that you answer their questions. If you don't know something, just tell them politely that you're not aware about that particular thing, and you will get back to them. And always have good grip on the numbers. Specifically, three things you should know, like your target market, and the serviceable market that you are serving. Okay, and the ideal customer persona, and where you stand currently, how much is your EBITDA, and how much growth you are expecting. So these are some basic numbers that you should know while pitching to investors. And after pitching to particular VC or angel investor, always take a friendly or gentle follow-ups with them, because generally, because they get so much pitch decks or pitches from the startups, they might forget, you know. So it's always good to follow up also with them. Okay, so this is what you have to do for raising the funding. Now, how the pitch deck is created and how you have to research more on your idea, all these things will be covered in next couple of videos. Thank you.